Okay. So it's loading up.
Is that Dr. Freddie I see there?
Okay, we are live.
Hare Krishna, one and all.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Jayantamarindasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilikam Jena Tasmai Sri Rave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful, humble obeisances unto God. So thank you all for coming. Who all's there?
I'm showing there's 5 of us. Harita, Sarah, Alfredo, which is Dr. Freddie, yourself, myself, and my wife. So others are going to trickle in shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're getting started a little earlier. I found that it's probably better. It's probably better to start on time. You know, and when I'm live, I sometimes start a little bit into the kirtan, but I think when people are online, they get a little anxious.
Yeah.
You know, started, so they may come and they go. So here we are.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, is that Kurt?
Definitely.
Yes, Prabhu.
Namaste. Or as they say this day and age, namaste 6 feet away.
10 feet, 10 feet. Haribo.
Yeah, or whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Hare Krishna, sir. This is Freddie from El Paso.
Jai, Dr. Freddie, Hari Hari.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
You're one of those guys we can always count on.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's a pleasure as always. We're going to talk about personal spiritual upliftment. And this is not necessarily pointed at any of the problems that are going on in the world today with racism, rioting, conspiracies, COVID-19. It has nothing to do, yet everything to do with dealing with these situations. It's not pointed at them. This is simply Gita wisdom. So Krishna tells us how to avoid all of these problems. It's outlined. So if we need upliftment, the only upliftment we're ever really going to need, or that's really going to be effective on making us feel happy and giving us true pleasure, is spiritual upliftment. We get that from 3 sources. Anybody know what those 3 sources are that we depend on? Nobody knows?
Is it Sastra, Sadhu, Guru?
Yes. It's the Guru Sadhu Sastra. That is where we get our information. That's where we get our upliftment. That's where we get our enlivenment. And that's how we know it's genuine. If it's presented by Guru, the sadhus, the assembled advanced devotees, and all, if all of this is backed up by Shastra, which is scripture, then you're getting the real thing. You're actually getting true help. If it's from a source other than these, it's questionable. If it does not agree with Guru Sadhu Shastra, it is Maya. It's in the modes. So what do we need upliftment from? We need upliftment from being in the modes of material nature. The 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. All right. Someone may say, oh, but wait, If I'm in the mode of goodness, why do I need to be uplifted? Okay, if I'm in the mode of goodness, I may become a little proud that I'm in the mode of goodness, and I don't think you are. I don't think you're coming up to my level because I'm in the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is still a material mode, material mode. If I'm in the mode of goodness, I could be dragged into the mode of passion if you disagree with me. You may say, I disagree with what you say, or I don't think you're really in any bit more in the mode of goodness than me. And now I get dragged into the mode of passion out of some sort of a lust. I have this desire to be seen as good. And now you are threatening that. So now I'm thinking I'm getting angry at you. I think I don't like you. Maybe you're not my friend. So if we're in that mode, the material mode of goodness, we can be susceptible to being dragged into the modes of passion and ignorance. Excuse me. We talk a lot about the three modes of material nature. I personally don't think we spend enough time talking about the modes of material nature. One would think, well, gee whiz, there's only three of them. You just tell me what they are, and we're good to go. Now let's go on to something more complicated. The three modes are not hard. They're not complicated. They're not hard to understand. It's hard to know when you're in them and when you're not, because you're in illusion. So if I don't want to be in the mode of goodness or passion or ignorance, where should I be? You should be in the mode of pure goodness. Pure goodness means that my thoughts, words, and actions are meant to please Guru, Krishna, and the sadhus. So in other words, I'm not acting on my own behalf. I'm not trying to show the world that I'm all this or all that. I'm trying to satisfy Guru and Sadhu and follow Shastra. So that is in the mode of pure goodness. Now we're going to talk about the mode of pure goodness a little bit later, but let's get into some of this verse here. It's a long verse, and it's an extremely important verse. You should consult this verse once in a while, just to remind yourself what we're all about here. Stop me at any time with comments or questions, please. That way we can associate. All right, Krishna says, 16th chapter, and these are verses 1 through 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said. I'm going to read through these, and then we're going to go. Krishna's not saying this. This is me saying. I'm going to read through this. Then we're going to talk about each of these one by one. All right. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So let's bisect what Krishna's talking about here. He's saying that one should be fearless. How do I become fearless? There's so many things to be afraid of. Those in the renounced order of life, Prabhupada will talk about this as we get into some of the purport. It's a very long purport, so we won't get to cover it all. But Prabhupada mentioned those in the renounced order of life should feel fearless, and actually, all devotees should work towards feeling fearless. Why? Because you are an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Godhead. You are his beloved, loving associate. And your position, your eternal function, is to serve him with love and devotion, gratitude, appreciation, warm, loving exchange. That is your function as a living entity. When I'm not doing that, I'm not functioning as a living entity. I'm malfunctioning. It's like if your car doesn't start when you turn the key, it's malfunctioning. So if when you put it in drive, it doesn't go, it's malfunctioning. If you don't love the Supreme Lord and serve him with all your heart, you are malfunctioning on the eternal mode or platform. That is what you are. This is identifying with you, the real you, the soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Now you may say that it's kind of hard to remember all the time that I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. Yes, it is, because we find ourselves in this material world and we actually think ourselves a part of it. I'm an American, I'm a man, I'm an earthling, I'm a dog, I'm a cat. So we become convinced that we are part of this phantasmagoria, this material world. Actually, we are not. We're not part of it. So if we can become Krishna conscious, that means if I can become conscious that I'm an eternal loving associate, servant of the Supreme Godhead, then you should become fearless. If you're in the renounced order, it's required. You have to remain fearless because you have to come to the realization. What is fearlessness? It's coming to the realization that, my dear Lord Krishna, I don't have anything but you. I depend on you 100%. So this is Krishna consciousness. So fearlessness, purification of one's existence. We must purify our existence. We can't purify our existence by cooperating in the modes of material nature. It just won't purify you. So right now the world is it's more evident, let's say that our world that we live in is so much involved in the modes of material nature. If we become influenced by the world and their modes of material nature, we're not doing ourselves any good. And you know what? We're not going to be able to help anyone else. To help someone, you've got to first transcend the modes, get into the mode of pure goodness. You've got to get into the situation that you are a functioning soul. Once you're functioning, and that means fully realizing and offering all of your words, thoughts, and actions as loving service to Guru and Krishna and the other living entities, once you get there, you're in the mode of pure goodness. And you can help anyone. You can access your eternal potency as part and parcel of Krishna. If I slip down into the three modes, goodness, passion, ignorance, now I've kind of injured myself. I'm not able to help anyone because I'll be more or less as much an illusion as they are. So how can I help them? How can I do any service to them? So purification of one's existence, associate with saintly persons, associate with those who have that realization, that understanding that they are part and parcel of Krishna. That will purify your existence. Krishna, as we go on in this verse, he's going to give other suggestions, other instructions on how to purify our existence. So let's go on. Purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge. That's how we purify our existence. I need spiritual knowledge. Now, where do we get spiritual knowledge? There are so many people that when it comes to spiritual knowledge that have fabricated what spiritual knowledge is. They have their own methodology, and they're often very proud of it. So if you start to argue with them that, where did you get this spiritual path or this spiritual destination that you're talking about? And they just say, well, it came to me when I was whatever. More than likely, they're involved in speculation. Speculation should be avoided. When it comes to speculation, one guy's speculation isn't any better than another speculation. So we don't need to speculate. When you speculate, you're a malfunctioning soul. We can go to real knowledge, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, associating with those who are in that consciousness that they are part and parcel, eternally part and parcel, loving servant of Krishna. Charity. One should give in charity. Prabhupada's going to explain in the purport here about what does that mean? Does that mean that if you see somebody that's, they have a sign out, will work for food, and you know that they probably just want to get some alcohol. If you give them charity, then that charity is going into one of the three modes. That's charity in the mode of ignorance. He's in the mode of ignorance because he wants to get high, and you're in the mode of ignorance because you're enabling that. So charity should be placed properly. Who is a rightful recipient of charity? The temple. Go to the temple. You have extra money and you want to contribute? Hold on. All right. Sorry, I had my phone. So, if you want to see that your charity is well placed, give it to someone that will do the right thing with it. Give it to the temple. You can give to someone who's in the renounced order. The renounced order, those who are in the renounced order are authorized to receive charity. You can give it to a grihasta if you find somebody who's really down on their luck, some nice devotee, and they're really trying to advance spiritually, but they need some money. They've lost their job and you have extra. That's also acceptable. Other than that, there's a chance that you're giving your money into the modes. So beware of where our charity is placed. After charity, Krishna mentions self-control. Yes. Control yourself. Have you ever said that to someone who was really in the mode of passion? They're really angry, or they're starting to make a scene. Look, control yourself here. Yes. If you're in the mode of goodness, you may think, wait a minute. You shouldn't say that to me because I'm in the mode of goodness. So now I'm starting to get in the mode of passion. I'm getting a little angry at you. Someone in the mode of pure goodness, and you say to them, look, control yourself, they're going to say, oh, yes, good. I agree, I should. And they may ask you to clarify, how am I out of control? Can you please help me? And then you can have some discussion. Maybe you're right and maybe you're not. Someone that's in the three modes, you run the risk of getting them to be angry. So self-control, performance of sacrifice. For us, the Vaishnavas, what is the biggest, best sacrifice for us to perform? Anyone?
Sir, is our performance for sacrifice chanting japa daily?
You beat me
Exactly.
to it.
Exactly.
The
Chanting,
Yuga Dharma,
huh?
the Yuga Dharma, right?
Yeah, that's the Yuga Dharma. That's the sacrifice for the age. It's the chief sacrifice. That performance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. That is the duty for everyone in this age. Gee whiz, not everybody knows that. So maybe you should help them. Get everyone that you can to chant Hare Krishna.
Sir, I
You
wonder,
chant it? Huh?
is penance and sacrifice the same meaning? Do they have the same meaning, penance and
Very,
sacrifice?
very, very similar. Very similar. Yeah. Notice how Krishna has built this verse. He goes on, after performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas. Study the Vedas. They're there. And since Srila Prabhupada, since his mercy on the world, they're translated into English. Why? They're translated into practically every language. I don't think they've been translated into Klingon yet. Ha 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 ha. See if you were here.
I got you.
All right. Thanks. It's nice to hear a little. Yeah, but they're whatever language. Prabhupada's books are there. The Vedas are there for you. And it's not somebody's loose translation or politically motivated translation. It's as the Vedas are. So this is a very easy one to follow. We should do that. We should do it daily. Daily, we should study the Vedas. After the Vedas, there is austerity. Now, Dr. Freddie, you mentioned penance. So penance and austerity kind of go hand in hand. Okay, penance and austerity, sacrifice, penance, austerity. These kind of go together. Austerity means I just deny myself of things that are not conducive to my spiritual development. Like maybe I decide that I want to get a part-time job to make extra money because I want to buy a Ferrari. That's not being very austere. You don't need a Ferrari. To have, to spend way too much money on food that you don't need, or bedding that you don't need. Eating, sleeping, to spend too much money on your sex life, mating, to spend too much money on defending. You see, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending should be done sensibly. If you're in the mode of pure goodness, you'll understand. I don't need a Ferrari. You do, I'm not saying you should drive a junk car. You should drive a car that is respectable. When people see it, they'll say, oh, this man it's clean, it works. You can use your transportation to serve Guru and Krishna. So therefore, it should be nice. You see, it should be able to serve you. If it's far more than it should be, people are not going to see the austerity in you. That's and part of penance means denying yourself. Lord Jesus Christ said to his followers, deny yourself, take up your cross daily and follow me. So this is similar. Deny yourself. Deny yourself of what? Necessities? No. Deny yourself of those things that are overkill, not necessary. As you advance in Krishna consciousness, you'll be able to see those things and be able to interpret. So simplicity, very important. Remain simple. Don't be overly what good is an overly complicated life, an over complicated story that you have? Simplify your life. How can you simplify your life? Remain always in the consciousness that you are a loving associate, eternally, part and parcel of the Supreme Godhead. Your function as a soul, your reason for existing, is to serve him with love and devotion and all other living entities as well. Boy, that's as simple as you can get it. Now, you may need some things to help you in your service. That's okay. Try to remain simple. Next, Krishna touches on non-violence. Don't be violent. What do you think Krishna means in this? Yeah, ahimsa. What is that? Non-violence. Does anybody want to offer or take his on? What does it mean to be non-violent?
Means not to cause any harm to others unnecessarily. Means not to cause any harm to others that's not in the service of Krishna.
Perfectly stated, Dr. Chris. Perfectly stated. Not to cause harm that's not needed. So, but that's not to say that you never would cause harm. Krishna is asking Arjuna to go out and kill lots of people. Think about that. That's what Krishna wants Arjuna to do. Arjuna saying, well, gee whiz, Krishna, I don't think I want to do this. You know, there's my grandfather and my uncle. And he starts arguing with Krishna, and he puts forth some very good, materially motivated arguments on why he shouldn't do his duty. Krishna is saying, no, I want you to do that. They're already dead. I'm just going to give you the credit for doing it. It's my will that they die. You see? So the Kshatriya is one of the four Varnas. The Kshatriya is the protector of society. Kshatriya, Triyate, this is the last part of that. Kshatriya, Triyate means cause harm. So that doesn't mean that the Kshatriya is always causing harm. But if to protect you, he must cause harm, then he's willing and able to do it. You see? But he doesn't cause harm unnecessarily. You see? Now, we see a lot of this in our society now. We see Kshatriyas, police, sometimes military, sometimes the other Kshatriyas who would be senators, presidents, congressmen. These are all supposed to be Kshatriyas. We can see that they're Kshatriyas in name only, but they're in that position. And we see that they do great harm because the businessmen influence our House of Representatives and the Senate. Then it's the businessmen, it's the Vaishyas that are pretty much controlling their decisions. It's been that way since the Vaishyas took over from the monarchs. The Kshatriyas were overthrown in the American Revolution. You see, then now the Vaishyas took control. So everything is done with some profit motive. And so when our Kshatriyas of today make a decision, it's motivated by the profit desire of the Vaishyas. That's another thing we can get into later on. That's a whole other. So this nonviolence doesn't mean that those who are there to protect us never harm anybody under any circumstance. No, but they shouldn't unnecessarily harm someone. That means that they're simply deep in the modes. They're malfunctioning. A Kshatriya who harms an innocent person is malfunctioning. He's not functioning properly. And sometimes we see this. We see that the policeman may do something that causes harm to someone, and it shouldn't have happened. We may see that our army from time to time may do things to the civilians. If they're in an enemy country, they may do something unnecessary to harm the civilians. This is malfunctioning. We see that the Kshatriyas in the form of government, they're malfunctioning. They may pass some law that's harmful to the people. It's not good for you. See, it's meant to be good for the Vaishyas, basically pulling the strings. The Vaishyas are the puppeteers, and the Kshatriyas and the rest of us are the puppet. So that's pretty much the way things are going on right now. Before I go on, are there any questions or discussions about this nonviolence?
Actually, I did have but I'll hold my comment till the end. That way I won't take up too much time.
All right, don't forget it. After nonviolence, Krishna mentions truthfulness. You're not being a goody two-shoes by being truthful or expecting people to be truthful with you. This is given to us by the Supreme Godhead. Truthfulness. Truthfulness is one of the 4 pillars of spiritual life. It's like I've said before, the spiritual life is like a table. The table has 4 legs that keep it from falling over. If you take away one of those legs, the table falls over. Those 4 legs are truthfulness, mercifulness, cleanliness, and austerity. You let slide any one of those 4. Those are the 4 regulatory. Truthfulness. I can't overly emphasize the importance of truthful dealings, especially with us, between us. And do you know where truth starts? Anybody? Where does truth begin? With yourself. To thine own self be true. Get honest with you. You see, if you are following this bhakti yoga process and you start to realize that you're an eternal part and parcel of Krishna and that you're not part of this material world, you're eternally loving Krishna. That is the first step toward you being honest with yourself. In other words, you're saying, I am not this body. I'm an eternal part and parcel. So get honest with yourself, and then be honest with everyone else. You see? We can give a class just on truth. And you can see it's so important that Krishna mentions it. Okay, here we go. We're getting something else here that's very important. Krishna says, after truthfulness, these aren't necessarily in any order, but Krishna says, freedom from anger. Can you do that? Now, how do we make sure that we don't get angry? You got to stay out of the mode of passion. You got to get into the mode of passion before you can get angry. All right? Sometimes you may have to use the mode of passion to do your service. Krishna was asking Arjuna to get into the mode of passion, get angry at the enemy and defeat it. See? Now, you don't need to get angry at people, but you may feel a little bit of anger, like if you're giving a class and you're talking about pure love of Godhead, and you've got someone there who tries to say, no, it's all one, and God has no form. If he's into this impersonalistic thing, you can try to subdue them with kind words. And if they're poisoning the group that's assembled to hear you speak the absolute truth, you may have to say, my dear sir, please, when you're going to have a class, we won't come and disturb yours. So we're asking you not to disturb this class or to leave. See? So that's getting a little, you're on the verge of anger, you see, but it's anger to serve Krishna. Sometimes you may say, I need you to leave right now if someone is so crazy. So freedom from anger, krodh. Krodh is anger. We need to avoid it. You have to get into the mode of passion to become angry. Stay in that mode of pure goodness, and for the most part, you'll find yourself free from anger. Now, it's going to be hard to keep from getting angry if you see someone that is hurting some of your friends, devotee friends, someone who's doing a disservice to those who you love on a transcendental level, or someone that you may have grandparents, parents, brothers and sisters, someone is harming. Then you can use the mode of passion to save them. See, you don't sit by and let somebody hurt your loved ones. Krishna goes on, renunciation. Basically, don't be attached to material things. Be attached to those things that you need to perform your service to Guru Krishna. Now, that might mean that you need a very nice house, good transportation, whatever, for you to serve Krishna. I think Bhagavan Nard, you've moved into a nice house now. And Jivananda Prabhu has a nice house. And these are being used as temples. Bhakta Freddy bought a nice house. He didn't really need a nice house. But because of his desire to expand his service, he bought this nice house and turned it into a temple. And Lord Jagannath is living there with his brother Baladev and his sister Subhadra. I think they've kind of taken over, haven't they, Dr. Freddy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They are in charge of the house.
Yeah. And that's great. That means they're in charge of you. And they'll take charge in the lives of everyone that you invite to come and see them in their home. And I think you're growing tulsi out back, and you're growing vegetables and offering to the Lord. So for your service, then this is required. This is necessary. This is good for you. So renunciation doesn't mean that you live, nor does austerity mean that you live with absolutely nothing. So be renounced. Don't be attached to material things that you don't need to perform your devotional service. Tranquility. Huh. Wow. How do you get tranquil in this world, especially in June of 2020? Very difficult. There are so many things that are agitating. Where do we usually find these things that agitate us? I know, on the internet. You go on the internet and there are people who are telling you this one is killing that one, and this one is burning this, and this one is doing that. And basically, these folks are soliciting your agitation. I want you to be mad at something. I want to represent or even misrepresent something that's going on. Is there wrong being done? Yes, yes, wrong is being done. Is it being properly is it being misrepresented to you? Yes, it is. Will that continue? Yes, it will continue. You try to stay tranquil. Try to stay peaceful. Follow all of these things. Freedom from anger. So you've got to do all this at the same time. Stay in the mode of pure goodness, which means your equiposition. When you remain equipoised, you're the same in happiness, sadness, you're the same in heat and cold, rich, poor, you remain the same. So you don't become overly agitated by the things that are going on in the material world. If you do, how can you help them? Have you ever thought that if you have this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, doesn't that give you a tremendous responsibility of sharing that knowledge with those who are in the mode of ignorance, people who don't have the knowledge, people that are in mode of passion, they're angry, even people in the mode of goodness? You can help them by distributing this knowledge. You have to stay in the mode of pure goodness to do this. If you get influenced by everything that's going on out there, then how can you be equipositioned? How can you remain tranquil? If you're mad with everyone else, then you're just another mad guy. So, and you may not be as effective as you like. So remain tranquil. Oh, after that, Krishna says you should have an aversion to fault finding. Stop finding fault. Now, we sometimes have to discriminate between what's right and what's wrong. So Prabhupada says that it's not fault finding to call a thief a thief. If a thief is a thief and you tell your neighbor, hey, be careful, this guy is going around, he's breaking in and he's stealing things, that doesn't mean you're being a fault finder. It means you're being truthful, okay? You're not trying to cause this guy any harm, but you are letting people know, this guy, be careful because he has a tendency to steal. Now, what if someone you know is, I mean, you actually know that they really can't, you can't really depend on them to give you the truth all the time, then you may warn people, this person isn't honest. Not that you're trying to do that person any harm, but you're trying to save a friend from being lied to or misrepresented to by this person or that organization or the internet, you see. So that it's not fault finding to point out some problems that your fellow living entities may have. But don't get into this fault finding mood to where you find always finding fault with management, with the weather, with this or that, government. Yeah, government has problems. Temple presidents have problems. But if you're always finding fault, then you're not going to be happy. And those lives that you touch will not be happy. So Krishna goes on, compassion for all living entities, not just the human beings, not just the warm and fuzzy puppies and kitties. Compassion for all living entities. That means the ants, flies, rats, maybe even cows, the things that people have no compassion for. Slaughtering, I think 74 billion land creatures are slaughtered every year, uselessly, just because somebody wants to satisfy their palate. That is cruelty, and it's lack of compassion on our fallen conditioned souls that may not have a body that you like. You may say, well, I like dogs and I will protect my dog, but I don't really care if you kill the pigs or cows. Extremely important. Until we get these points understood and get the world to act on them, at least enough to where we have a critical mass of people who are thinking like this, we're not going to get rid of cruelty in the world. These problems are not going to be solved by protests. Protests are a good step, but incorporated in our protest, I want you to not be cruel to these people, or I don't want you to be cruel to dogs and cats, or I don't want you to be cruel to this one or that one. Until we actually can have some sort of a protest that incites compassion for all living entities, we are, for the most part, wasting our time, and we'll just be swept into the mood. So that has to be part of it. I want to campaign for and protest for compassion for all living entities. Freedom from covetousness, Christian says. In the Bible, it says, I think it's one of the commandments, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Okay, yeah, don't covet thy neighbor's car. Don't covet thy neighbor's house. Don't covet thy neighbor's job. Get rid of this covetousness. You have something. I'm feeling a little envy. I'm starting to covet what you have. You see, these are the modes. Stay out of it. Gentleness. Be a gentle man or gentle lady. Be a gentle soul. That is your nature. It's your eternal nature. If you can just be yourself, then you will be gentle with everyone, right? This is so important. I know there's a lot of things I'm throwing at you, and they're all extremely important, but we'll discuss these things after we go through this verse, and we can discuss them later on in other classes. If you want, you give me a class title that you would like me to give class on, and we'll discuss maybe even just one of these and expand on it. This is extremely important. Modesty. Be modest. You see? I think we all understand what modesty means. Don't be so showy. Be modest. These are the traits of those in divine consciousness. Okay, they're the opposite of those who are in demoniac consciousness, which we'll get into in the next verse. Steady determination. Yes, we need steady determination. Here's steady determination for the devotee. Decide if you want to be decide if you want to return to your lost position of being an eternal loving associate loving servant of Krishna. Decide if you do or you don't. If you do, then stay with that. Be determined. Do not let your intelligence or your determination be many branched. Like, well, you know, I do want to be an eternal servant of Krishna. I do want to return to my original consciousness that I've lost. But, you know, today I think I want to campaign for animal rights, and I'll be a devotee later. No, stay focused on being a devotee. You'll have compassion for all living entities, so that's included in finding yourself being determined to recovering your lost relationship with Krishna. If you just do that, you will get everything. Vigor. Be vigorous in your service to Krishna. Be vigorous in your love for your fellow man. Be vigorous in your love for your fellow living entities. Be vigorous in your sadhana. Be vigorous in your devotional service. Do things with vigor. Don't be lazy and complacent. Forgiveness. Wow, you can see how all these things fit together. If you want to be a saintly person, you should be forgiving. See? If someone messes up, if they make a mistake, be willing to forgive. See? How many times or how much do you want to be forgiven if you make a mistake? Probably a lot, right? So don't demand more forgiveness for yourself than you're willing to give to the other living entities that are around you. See? Be forgiving. Fortitude. Be strong. Be strong. If you start to realize your eternal position as part and parcel of Krishna, then being strong will be easy. Krishna is strong. You're part of Krishna. Need I say more? You should be strong. It belongs to you to feel strength. It belongs to you because that's what you are. Cleanliness. Be clean. Be clean in your body. Be clean in your habits. Be clean in what you let into your mind, through your ears or through your eyes. Be clean. If there's nonsense happening and you let that nonsense, which is in the form of filthy filth, you let that into your mind, then it's going to start to come out of your mouth. Garbage in, garbage out. What I'm hearing and I'm seeing, I'm being influenced, it's going to come out of my mouth. If I'm affected by the modes of material energy, I will not be able to help you, and I won't be able to help anyone else. That goes for you too. If you truly want to help the supreme help of the living entity, meaning that you give them self-realization as to who and what they are and what their eternal purpose is, then you've got to remain in that consciousness yourself. Cleanliness of mind, cleanliness of words, cleanliness of happiness. So that's one of the 4 pillars of spiritual life. Cleanliness. Freedom from envy. Covetousness, enviousness go together. Don't be envious. If you find yourself being envious, deal with it. Tell yourself the 2 magic words. It works when you're finding yourself envious or not gentle or covetous or if you're breaking any of these, The two magic words you say to yourself. Stop it. Tell yourself, stop it. Stop. Back it up. You can do that with yourself. It works better if you do it than if someone else tells you to stop it. If someone else tells you to stop it, you may want to argue or you become offended. How dare you say that to me? Because now I'm getting into, you're making me angry. Now I'm into the mode of passion. But you can tell yourself, look, stop it. You're better than this. You are part and parcel of Krishna. You're better than this. And you are. Those are not just fancy words. That is the truth. Freedom from envy and the passion for honor. Don't give up this passion for honor. Don't seek people to see you and give you honor. That's material consciousness. Honor may come or it may not. Don't worry about it. I'm concerned basically with pleasing Guru and Krishna. If Guru and Krishna are happy, and there's maybe a whole world of people that think that I'm not, then that's okay. They're entitled to their opinion. You see? So we're not looking for honor. Don't worry about that. That will come. Whatever honor that will come, will come. Do your service to the level that you're empowered by Guru and Krishna. How can you be empowered by Guru and Krishna? You already are. Realize who you are and beg the Lord, beg your Guru, beg Krishna, please work through me. I want to serve. Please empower me. I have no potency of my own. You see? Not saying I want honor because can't you see how great I am or how talented I am? That's foolishness. Krishna says these transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So let me go on to the next verse, and then we will have some discussion. Or not. Krishna says, this is the fourth verse, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Buddha. So what's Krishna talking about? Pride. Give up your pride. That goes along with giving up the seeking honor. I want to have some false prestige. I'm proud that my house is bigger than yours, or my car is better than yours. I make more money than you do. Pride, according to Krishna, is demonic. Listen to what Krishna is saying here. Arrogance. These are qualities that belong to demoniac nature. If I'm arrogant, I'm sure all of us have met people that are arrogant. Perhaps even maybe, I'm going to go out on a limb here, we from time to time might even be a little arrogant. So, but that's demoniac nature. If you practice this Krishna consciousness, this arrogance will be dissolved. It will go away. If you have difficulty once in a while with arrogance, it doesn't mean you're demoniac. It doesn't mean you're an arrogant person. It might mean that you might have had an arrogant moment, but you got over it. You might have told yourself when you found yourself arrogant, look, stop it. Okay? So it passed on by. Doesn't mean you're an arrogant person. You might have a moment of pride. It doesn't mean you're just a proud person. Pride, arrogance, conceit. Give it up. Don't be conceited. Anger, Krishna says anger belongs to, it's a quality that belongs to those of demoniac nature. Look, this isn't me. This is Krishna here. All right. Anger is demoniac. You got to let it go. You got to walk away from anger. You can't hang on to it. See, it's bringing you down into the mode. Now that doesn't mean that you may not have an angry moment for someone who's harming the devotees or talking against our Krishna conscious philosophy. Doesn't mean that it's controlling you. See? But you have to control growth, anger. You have to control it. Or it will control you. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness. Be gentle. Don't be harsh. It doesn't become you. It's not who you are. For you, this beautiful part and parcel of Krishna, to be harsh, that's like a child pretending to be something that they're not. You ever see a child and they're pretending to be? You ever go over to somebody's house and they have a child, and the little kid comes up and they say they're pretending to be a doctor or something, and they're examining you and telling you something. And you may think, oh, that's so cute. Look, he's doing this or that. That's the way you are when you're being harsh with people. That's not in your nature. You see? You may feel that you need it from time to time just to perform your service, but boy, this is going to be rare. Give it up. Tell yourself to stop it. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. Don't be ignorant. How do you see that you're not ignorant? Study the Vedas. Associate with Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. You don't have to remain in ignorance. That's not your transcendental position. You are not eternally a part and parcel of ignorance. You are Sat Chit Ananda. You're eternal. Chit, you're full of knowledge. And Ananda, eternally blissful. Find that beautiful self that you are, that beautiful self that Krishna sees. And that has nothing to do with ignorance. You don't have to remain in ignorance. You may choose to, but please choose to push the ignorance away by accepting deeper wisdom. Krishna says this pride, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, these qualities belong to those of demoniac nature. So, what say ye about what we've been discussing? Anyone?
Sorry, what was the question, Prabhu?
What is your thoughts on these verses?
This is definitely correct. When we are proud, arrogant, conceit, all this will put us down in the social circles too. And we don't have to, like know it. Like we'll come to know by others. They're going to tell us how we are behaving.
Yeah, we depend on others. We can't depend on just anybody. If they're in the modes, then they may be envious of you or whatever. If they're in the modes, then, we really can't take much of what they say serious. Go back, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So we depend on those that are close to us, the devotees that are close to us. We depend on them to tell us, to help us, to give us guidance. because they're not envious. The devotees are going to give you proper guidance. So the devotee who is free from these demoniac qualities is somebody that will talk to you without. They're trying to help you. So see it like us, take association and shelter from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Any other comments?
Yeah, so Hare Krishna. I wanted to give a shout out to Bhagavan Narad Prabhu. I don't know if he's still on, but you know, he and Naradi have been feeding out prasadam at the protests, and you know, just being available, you know, feeding out the prasadam and just listening to people, and you know, and that's just so profound to me, because you know, I was just thinking earlier today, I just thought, you know, I don't understand why devotees in every city aren't just taking buckets of halava and khichdi down to where these protests are and feeding out, because as you're talking about this evening, you know, until people touch that mode of pure goodness, you know, through prasadam or however they're going to touch it, there's not going to be a way to break through a lot of this passion, you know, and ignorance, to where people, such that people are able to sit down and talk to one another and really see one another as part and parcel of the Supreme. You know, even if they don't reach that level, even if they can get to the level of, okay, we're human beings who have families, who have children, who have, you know, who want to get, you know, but prasadam, I mean, I don't know of a better way to cut through to cut through so much passion and ignorance than prasadam, you know. So my plea to devotees out there who have protests in your cities is try to figure out how you can serve out, you know, safely, of course, obviously, of course, safely, but you know, it's so very much needed, you know, right now.
Well, that's a good comment, and it's happening on a much bigger scale than you may know. Many cities around the country, many cities around the world. I forget the number of plates that are of prasadam, free prasadam, that are being distributed throughout India.
That's great. That's exactly
millions, and throughout United States. This is something we've always done.
When we talk,
but there's three parts that we need to give people. We need to give people Krishna prasadam. We need to give people Krishna kirtan. We need to give people Krishna katha. Okay, so you give them Krishna kirtan. That gets their attention, and they start to participate in the glorifying of the holy name. And then you give them Krishna prasad. Doesn't have to be in this order. And they get to taste and experience Krishna. And that's a warm reciprocation between you and the person that you serve the prasadam to. And then you've got to give them Krishna katha. You've got to tell them, what is this food that you're eating? You see, what's so special about it? That chant that we were chanting, what is so special about it? See, I can leave it go at the kirtan and leave it go at the prasadam, but now I want to personally touch. Let's touch personally, see, and try to help people appreciate this mercy that you've shown them, Krishna prasadam and Krishna kirtan. So these things they all should be there. This was Prabhupada's recipe, and it's still our recipe in history. But if you can only give them kirtan, or if you can only give them prasadam, then that's very good. You see, very good. So yeah, I very much applaud what I've been seeing that Bhagavan Narad and Naradi are doing. This is very wonderful. You know, we should all help in any way we can. If you can't go personally, then maybe contribute some donation, some auction. They're very poor people, and I'm amazed how they can get together and go feed a couple hundred people. You know, that's very, very marvelous. So, but very good point. Very good.
Prabhu, I have another observation. For all these verses that we discussed, I think Krishna is making us and putting us in a very good position to understand these qualities so that we can humble ourselves and be in a serving mood. And only when we are in the serving mood, we can love others and experience the joy of being together and, you know, and get into a higher goal.
If you're not in a position of joy, then how are you going to give that to anybody else?
Yeah.
If I'm angry and upset, and if I'm in the mode of passion, how can I make you or anyone else that I encounter happy? Right?
Yes, definitely. And when I'm proud,
The fact is, those that are in the mode of passion, their aim isn't to make anybody happy. I'm miserable, and I'm going to judge you on how miserable you get with me. If I'm miserable and you get miserable too, then I can see you have some intelligence. But if I want to be miserable and you will get miserable with me, then you are my friend. You're intelligent like I am. Basically, I may not know it, but I'm in the mode of passion. You're in the mode of passion. Therefore, you're my friend. So if we can, Krishna says this devotional service is performed joyously. See? We don't go out to spread anger and hate.
even if we don't take that to Krishna consciousness, if people just follow this, what is being told in this three, verses, without being proud. If I'm proud and arrogant, people are not going to like me, and I will not be able to serve them and then experience the joy of serving them. Is
Right.
all this.
I mean, this is part of the very basis of our preaching. We want people to be fearless, and we want them to purify their existence. We want them to be compassionate. But you know what? We have to be able to demonstrate that by our own lives. If I'm not following this, then how can I influence someone else into following? See? So it's important that we actually not only just talk the talk, but walk the walk. We've got to demonstrate. Our ISKCON is a society that is meant to demonstrate this way of life, this transcendental way of life, which means we have a transcendental way of life. We don't have a material way of life. And we're not influenced by the mode. We stay out of that. It's a struggle to stay out of the influence of the modes of material nature. But we have to work hard to do that. Otherwise, we're never going to get the rest of the world. You can see if you read this verse, if everyone followed this verse, we would have a perfect world, wouldn't we? At least perfect behavior with our fellow living entities. This material world would still be temporary. We would still have problems in weather and whatever we have to deal with. But at least our fellow living entities, our fellow man, would be pleasant, happy, productive. See? So, well, we've got to do this. We can't just say that, well, nobody can do that. Nobody can live like that. No, you can, and you should. You should strive to do it. And you should struggle against anything that tries to drag you into this. You can't help some. A drowning man cannot help another drowning man. An ignorant man cannot help an ignorant man. An angry person isn't going to make somebody happy. Happy people have a tendency to make people happy. Spiritual people who love God have a tendency to inspire people in that same way. Become spiritual and to love God and to be self-realized. So these are the things that we need to be looking at. Krishna is giving us this. So he tells you how to behave, and then he tells you how not to behave. He follows up by saying, let go of pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. Let it go, because these qualities belong to those in demoniac nature. Nobody should want to be demoniac. Nobody really wants that. You see? So if someone is claiming to be spiritually based, or spiritual by nature, or spiritually motivated, you can see if they're proud, arrogant, conceited, angry, harsh, ignorant, they're actually demoniac. Now, they may be having a demoniac moment. They may not be full demons. So they may be, as I said before, just because you have a proud moment doesn't mean you have a proud life. If you have an angry moment, that doesn't mean that you have an angry life. You see? But if you have too many of these angry moments, then you have an angry life. And Krishna doesn't want that for you. You don't want that. You don't want that for anyone, really. If we go back to having compassion on all living entities, we certainly don't want them to live a life of anger or fear or any of these things. So, all right. Any further questions?
I have this question. Sorry.
Yeah.
So pride is one thing. Most of us, I know, it's difficult to conceal if a person has a very good position, and if let's say if a person is wealthy, it's going to come out somehow or the other way. People will come to know. It's so difficult to avoid this pride. How do we manage it?
By thinking yourself part and parcel of Krishna, and you're the humble servant, humble loving servant of the Supreme Godhead and all other living entities. We can just focus on that, and this false pride will be burned up. It's like in the morning, sometimes we see in the lower areas, there's some fog or mist. And as the sun comes up, as it gets high enough, it burns this mist away. So we may have some pride. But as we chant Hare Krishna, as we study the Vedas and associate with spiritual sadhus, then this pride, arrogance, anger, this gets burned up like the mist. We have to stick to the process. Don't be swayed. Don't be pulled off the mark. Don't get off the path of returning to your eternal loving position of being a loving associate, loving servant of Krishna. Keep that in mind and do what Krishna's saying. I mean, if we just follow the 16th chapter, verses 1 through 3, if we read this often, give yourself a test. Am I studying the Vedas Am I purifying my existence? Am I fault finding? Do I have compassion for all living entities? Am I free from envy? Give yourself your own exam. See? There's your formula right there. So stay with it. You can do it because it's your eternal nature. All Krishna is asking us to do is be yourself, that real self, not this temporary body that you're in, but be your real self. All right, so Bhagavan Nard, I guess it's time for us to sign off. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds great. I have everything recorded if you want to share it later.
All right.
Thank you so
Dude.
much, Jivananda Prabhu.
Thank you all so much. It is an absolute pleasure. I will see you again as soon as possible.
Hare Krishna.
We'll be having Krishna Cove tomorrow night. So stay tuned. We'll send out the notifications. And maybe we can get together again. It is totally sweet to have your association. All glories to Sri Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Gurudev.